Welcome back to Taxidermy 101. Today we are going to be showing you all how to do the darn rabbit part 2 because everybody has been waiting for 2 years to see part 2. So this is the rabbit we started with in the first video. Same rabbit.
Crispy.
Lovely little guy. So this is what we're starting with, obviously, is a frozen hide that I just stretched out so it would thaw faster. It's still frozen, you know, feet frozen. Head's still frozen, so we can't really work there. So in this video, I'm just gonna show you guys how to prepare this hide now to go onto a mannequin. So it's frozen right now, and we still have bones in all the feet, and it needs to be completely fleshed. We still have a bone in the tail where we accidentally ripped the tail while we were trying to strip it when we were skinning it. So I will show you guys how to remove the tail when that happens. It can be a pain, obviously. So it'll take a little while. Basically what we're gonna do is we're just gonna skin down, take the whole tail out. Same thing with all the feet. We're just gonna wait for this guy to thaw a little bit more, and then we're gonna get started on removing all the bones from our legs and the tail. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you guys a back foot, how I turn it and remove the bone from it, and then we'll go to a front foot and show you there. It's pretty much the same procedure for both. You're just gonna skin down. So there's 2 ways you can do this. You can either turn the leg inside out, save yourself some sewing if you really hate sewing, and just take the extra time to kind of just take this, well here I'll show you, just to turn this inside out, and then you're just gonna go really carefully in along where the membrane connects the tendons and stuff to the skin. So you could do that, and it would take you a lifetime that I have no patience for, and you will probably end up putting several holes in your hide. So what I would recommend is, instead of doing that and ever so carefully pulling this back and then skinning a little bit and then pulling it back some more, instead what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and continue with my incision here where we very first started, and just go up the inside of the foot. Sandwich, get off the camera. And just go up the inside of the foot and continue that incision until I reach about the first knuckle on the foot. Try to keep your incision in the thick fur of the foot, actually. So most animals and most mammals, you're gonna try and go center down the paw because the animal's gonna be standing on his paw and there's just no way you're gonna find that incision there. So try and keep your incision, because when you your initial incision is gonna be on the inside of the legs. Just try to bend the cut around a little bit, and on the heel here, you're gonna go and just kind of keep it centered and then put it right down the center. So you're gonna go ahead and try and end up kind of in the center of the foot here where you'll be able to sew it up. So I'm just gonna keep on making my cut down the center of the foot. You don't wanna go too far because you will go out your toe, and then that will be really hard to sew up. And if you put clay and stuff in there, it'll start oozing out the fur, and then it's just harder to hide, and it's a bit of a mess. So I'm just kind of following where I've cut here, trying to see where I'm at. And I'm kind of pretty close here to the toes, so I'm gonna stop there. So you can see where we've made the incision now all the way up. So I'm just gonna go ahead and peel this back and kind of hold it back with my hand if I can. And then I'm just gonna skin this back a little bit here. So now I'm gonna just come back up to my heel where it's at, and just slowly and carefully follow this back. You gotta keep in mind that the skin on the bottom of the foot is actually thicker and easier to mistake for some kind of flesh that you can cut through, and without even realizing it, you will be cutting through your hide. So you just wanna be careful, give yourself lots of room to work with here. I'm just keeping tension on it with my hand so that I can work around. And the top of the foot's easier, you can kind of see the membrane. It's a bit of a looser membrane, so we can actually peel some of that back. Try to avoid using a knife wherever possible so that you can avoid holes in the hide. Sandwich, you were gonna get stabbed. So as we get down to the toes here, I've just been skinning and peeling this back, just working it back with my hands wherever possible. You can see now what I was talking about, kind of this is the thicker skin underneath the foot, and then above the foot is just your regular kind of a fleshy, thinner skin. So now you can tell we're getting close to the foot as we can see the first few knuckles here. I'm just gonna try and pull it back. So I'm just pulling firmly, but being really careful because this is a thin skin along the toes and you can rip it. So when I pull back, you can see all the knuckles there. And I'm just gonna take my knife and go straight across the toe knuckles here and just get all that little bit of membrane back, and then I'm gonna pull again. And there you can see we made some more progress. So now I'm gonna go under the foot, and this is where it can get tricky because it does have all of these tendons that run up through the bottom of the foot here. So I'm gonna peel this back and then try and keep my knife kind of just pointed down towards the foot, and if I cut tendons, oh well, you're probably going to anyway because you have to avoid cutting the bottom of the foot pad, which is really hard to do. So I'm just kind of working this back with my hands, avoiding my cat. And now you can see when I pull this back, it brings us down almost to the last knuckle. And that's kind of our goal here, is we're just trying to get to that last knuckle where we will be able to cut it. You gotta be careful coming around the foot here because the skin bulges a little bit. You gotta remember those side toes are shorter. I'm just keeping my knife straight down towards the skin because the skin goes up in between the toes as well, so you gotta keep that in mind. And really the key here is just keeping tension on it all the time. Okay, so that's the bottom of the foot. This is the top of the foot. Now if I peel this back, you can see we're pretty much at that first knuckle now. So if I go along here, now what you can do is just go each toe individually and kind of just stick your finger through them, and you'll just bust that membrane that's between them and they will be easier to cut. So this first toe here, you can see I'm at that first knuckle right there. Now if I just take some scissors and I'll just run it right up in there, and then I can just cut through that. It's a really soft cartilage, just like that. Now I'll go ahead and do my second toe, just pop that first knuckle through, get my scissors in there and cut. Third toe now, getting to that last knuckle. Sandwich, get out of the way please. And then you're just cutting straight through that soft cartilage. And the procedure for this back foot is literally the exact same on the other back foot, and pretty much the same for the front feet as well, but I will show you front foot just in case you're curious about that. So now you can see we've removed our whole foot here, so I'll get rid of that. And you can see these are our toes. So if you were to actually go past that first knuckle, that is actually the joint where your toenail is sitting. So if you get through that and you go past it, you will cut your toenail out. And what you'll find is when they're through a tanning bath or something, those toenails will just fall out because they don't have enough meat keeping them in. So right now, this foot here, if I stick my finger kind of up in there, you can see that's the rabbit's foot, okay? So these are the toes, they're just free, loose, and they have just enough in there still to hold that toenail in place. And Sandwich is eating my pelt. Sandwich, eat this, here. What's this? Here, what's this? Sandwich, okay, come on in here. Have a foot. She's a good girl. Winston, you want a foot? He's a good boy. Okay, guys, ew, oh.
Oh.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. My camera actually just died and It's been a few hours, so what I actually did is I just took the rabbit, put some water on him, moistened him up a little bit so that the dry spots weren't getting too dry, if you know what I mean. And then I threw him into a really, really cold fridge. So he's actually partially frozen again, which is fine because we want to always prevent hair slippage. So as we were working on this lovely area right here, I'm just gonna continue where we left off, and I wanna explain here. So this is a male rabbit. You will find 2 scent glands, okay? So on either side of this are glands, and this meaning the male genitalia. So what we're gonna do is, I already actually took this one off here. Super easy to remove. They're basically like blobs of fat, if you wanna think of them like that. You're just going to go ahead and pinch this lovely area and then just kind of go ahead and cut those, and that's just part of one right there, okay? And you're just gonna, I like to do it in parts so that I know I'm not taking too much. And you can see we're just kind of getting down to skin here. Again, use your finger on the back end for reference so that you know what you're cutting, okay? It might be gross, but you know what? That's life. Okay, so same thing here. This one's easier, so just kind of go around it. Be really careful not to get too deep. You're just kind of taking as much possible goop off the skin. That's pretty much it, what we're looking at here. So if I turn that all right side out, that's kind of the mess we're looking at, okay? So there's not really any extra flesh in here now. Okay, so I was actually gonna show you guys how to remove the tailbone when it got stuck inside the rabbit like this. So when we were skinning this rabbit, what happened is went to strip the tail, pull it out, and just like all lovely, horrible accidents, the tail broke off inside of the tail. The bone actually snapped and is now inside the tail. And on a rabbit like this, it is practically impossible to remove that once it's in there. And so I actually tried filming this and showing you guys how to remove this, and I wasn't careful enough. I got it to a point where I almost had enough bone to grip, and I was kind of just pushing it through and skinning and pushing it through and skinning, and I ended up cutting through the skin on here and then put a big hole in it and cut almost half the tail. So if I was to actually keep going on this, what would happen is eventually I would actually just cut this whole tail, like right off. We will make a completely separate video showing you how to get that tail removed. That will have to be on a different rabbit or a different mammal because it happens all the time, unfortunately. So I will definitely show you guys how to do that. It just won't be on this rabbit, unfortunately. So back to the same way we did this before. I'm going to grab my big roll of professional saran wrap stuff. Hook my rabbit over it. I'm doing this from a little bit different angle here. So I'm just gonna pull that tight, take my dull knife, and just start scraping here. And I'm just taking off that fatty, tissuey membrane, getting it down to the nice white flesh. Okay, my apologies. My camera actually died and the other battery is charging super slowly, so I can't use it right now. And this guy's actually drying out and I have to go home for the night. So I figured I would just go ahead and do the rest of his face because that's all that needs done now. And just keep updated with my phone. So what I've done now is I have actually shoved just a bottle of wood glue, actually, up his neck, so that his neck was nice and firm, nice and hard to work with. These are his ears. I actually pulled the cartilage out of them, which is why they look so weird and droopy. The reason I did that is because we're using this rabbit for fur purposes now, due to the fact that he's a meat rabbit and isn't exactly a desirable taxidermy specimen. So what I did is I just went ahead with my dull knife, held him like this, scraped up the neck because we had all the flesh around his neck still, and so I worked my way up to the face here, and you can see all of this lovely flesh chunk that is still on here. However, when you get to the face like this, you cannot keep scraping because there are clumps of whiskers and stuff that you will just rip right through. So you've got to stop when you start getting up to the face. You can get up past the ears, but that's about it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my scissors and work a little bit with my scalpel and just slowly peel this all back, work around his eyelids, just peel them really nicely clean, get his nose and his lips. His lips need turned. You'll find that in a multitude of other taxidermy videos where you take the lip skin and you literally just slice it kind of in half, like you'd be opening a cardboard, or I don't remember how they always say it, but basically that's the skin. You're splitting it so that it unfolds flat so that you can tuck the inside lip into the mannequin. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that and finish fleshing this face. Again, I apologize that my camera died, and we will someday make a much better version of this whole little mammal taxidermy process. So I'm gonna go ahead and flesh him and update you in a minute. Alright, so I just finished fleshing the head and real quick just rinsed it off. So I'm not gonna lie, this is a really bad job. I kind of rushed through it. I used the scissors. I just got it done because I know I'm going to be tanning this hide, and the head is not going to be used really. So I did put a few holes in it. I wouldn't recommend copying me. So I'm just trying to show you kind of what I'm doing from here since my camera's dead, and I do promise you a much better quality video in the future on how to do all this for taxidermy specifically. So right now I just kind of went around the lips really quickly and trimmed off all the fat. I didn't turn them or anything. I took out the nose cartilage as much as I could, so that's the nose. Eyelids, I just trimmed around them. Other than that, this guy's pretty much ready to go into a pickle and be tanned. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and salt the whole hide and just let them dry, just let them dry and drain at room temperature. And then when I do make another tanning bath, I will be throwing him in there.